We're back with another episode of Let's Talk Snowboarding, presented by Mountain Vibes. And today we have Jessica Woofenden to my right, co-host. And Jessica, how are we doing?
How are you going?
I am doing good, and very, very stoked to have a good buddy, Schweitzer snowboard instructor, kind of a local legend in Sandpoint, Marty Andrews, joining us. Marty, how's it going, bud?
Great, guys. How you guys?
We're doing great, man. We're really stoked to talk to you. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Heck yeah, man. So let's get into it a little bit here. You grew up in Shoreline, Washington.
That's correct.
That's awesome. And what was your first introduction into snowboarding, and kind of talk about growing up in Shoreline and what it looked like getting up to your home mountain.
Shoreline was a little suburb north of Seattle, and I had interest in sliding. I'd seen surf and skate, and in one of our snowstorms, grabbed some remodel leftovers and slapped it out on the sidewalk and jumped off the stairs and see how many times I could fall on my ass. And pretty soon I was making it all the way to the gate, and thought to myself, wow, this is kind of an interesting thing. Mind you, this is the mid 80s. So by 91, graduated high school, and my childhood friend, as we were going through ski school, went and decided to go work over at Whitefish, Montana, right out of high school and be a lifty. So I decided to go visit him on a trip, and while he was working, rented my first snowboard, and that was the season of 91, 92.
Nice. So you did skiing first, is that right? Or snowboarding first?
Yeah, most of us were that, skier type first. So by the time I was like 12, 13 years old, we were skiing, and by the time we were graduating high school, like snowboarding was definitely starting to hit the scene.
Nice, dude. So, and so you mentioned Stevens Pass is your home mountain, and you guys, and then how did you guys? So you started working over in, your friend started working over in Whitefish. That's right.
Yeah, my best friend growing up worked over in Whitefish.
Okay, cool. And when was it that you started, getting into snowboard instructing, as far as working up at the mountain full time?
So we got back in from the winter activities, and my ski instructor growing up, I kept seeing out hiking, biking, up at the mountain. And one year he approached me and said, "Hey, what are you doing this winter?" And I was like, "Well, working and skiing." And he said, "Why don't you come be an instructor with us?" And I thought, that sounds like fun. Off we go. So in talking to him, he says, "Well, I'm not looking for a ski instructor. I need a snowboard instructor." And I'd let him know that I was self-taught, because that's what a lot of us did back then. And he says, "Don't worry, we have all the tricks and tools." So off we went. Showed up for the interview, the 2-day interview to go out and be on mountain. Again, rented some equipment, got the job, and realized I should go buy my first snowboard. So this was like 92, 93, and did a season with them. And Aussie, the American Association of Snowboard Instructors, was still pretty new, and ended up going and taking my first exam and get my level 1. And that was 1994.
Nice, dude. That's a long journey up until this day. 30 plus years that you've been instructing now.
Yep.
That's gnarly, dude. That's crazy. So yeah, talk about so when you got to Stevens, were you basically, after you started working, were you weekend warrior, just working on the weekends and going back home during the week?
Yeah, I had a job down in Seattle, that Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and the instructor that I had was now the director of the ski school, the Shoreline Edmond Ski School, and we would go and stay at his cabin on a Friday night. So we'd leave work, stay at his cabin, and get up Saturday morning and get to the mountain early, and all get ready in this tiny little shack together and go out for a day of coaching. And then Sunday night, we finished out the weekend with some free runs, and they had night skiing till like 10 o'clock at night. So you could go and play,
That's
and
nice.
we wouldn't get back home until midnight or so, and drag ourselves back to work Monday, and look forward to getting back out there Friday night and doing it all over again. So that was the intro. The first many years of teaching up there were 7 days a week during the wintertime, and you just didn't care because you just loved to go up and ride.
Yeah.
Were there any competitions back then as much as like today? I know there's competitions at lots of mountains, even just like outside of their own, like USASA, like they have their own derbies and stuff. Like
Back then there wasn't a lot, and I wasn't aware of a lot of it because it was, for me, that weekend warrior was like, it was get up, teach, ride, get back to work. And so at the time I wasn't into a competition based aspect. It was more, getting people out and showing them the love of the mountain, and finding, either taking a skier and teaching them how to snowboard, or just taking, just people out just snowboarding that were showing up for the classes. So it wasn't until later that, did we start seeing more of the competition. LBS, legendary bank slalom, was going on, and so that was always this like thing that was huge, that obviously it was, watched, but for us in this small little community of where we were at, it seemed like this untouchable, unreachable thing, because it was like so massive, so early.
yeah. So you were more of the weekend warrior, just love for the mountain, love for teaching people about it.
Teaching got me out of my shell, really. I was a very shy kid. I stood behind my dad's leg for a long time. I was just really, really shy. Didn't like to be spotlighted in any way. And by getting into teaching, all of a sudden, I remember having the realization one day of standing in front of some people and showing them the movements, talking about the movements of snowboarding, and then watching them listen to me and watching them actually complete the task and the movement, was just like, whoa, this is a really interesting skill, a really interesting people thing to do, of talking about a movement, showing a movement, and then having them do it, and having them see a smile on their face and go down the hill. And I think it was at that point where I realized, like, there's a little bit maybe of a gift here that you should share with people, because teaching's an awesome thing. And I got really hooked on just the reward of getting out in front of people and saying, yeah, let's go look at the top of that mountain and say, we can be there.
Yeah. It's so true. I feel the same way when I'm out there instructing. And the first time I ever got a lesson, up at Timberline, back underneath, working underneath Steve Muse, who, as you know, is kind of a legend throughout the Northwest in Aussie and PSIA. And just seeing somebody just do a hillside turn, slide stop on a tiny flat is like so cool, because then you can build off that, you know what I mean? And those relationships that you probably now have to this day are just so rewarding within, our community. And it's great to see. You walk around with Marty up at Schweitzer, like, you really can't go probably 15 feet before someone is like, Marty.
Yeah, no joke. You said that, and I was like, oh, you're kidding. No joke. People just, we went the one day, and everyone's like, Marty, this, like, on the lift, like, everyone knows Marty.
It's a lot of fun up there. My dad and my mother they were two totally different personalities. Dad was very quiet, very reserved. Mom was very, very outgoing. And so it wasn't until later that I really started to be like, wow, I got a lot of my mom in me when it comes to like that. You go anywhere and meet a friend and put a smile on your face and be, I just enjoyed meeting people and sharing in this experience. And Dad is my patient side of, getting out in front of coaching and taking your time and making sure it's right.
Yeah, most definitely, dude. That's awesome. And we spoke about you being up at Schweitzer. At what year was it that you actually made the move from Seattle area, Stevens, and coming out here to North Idaho?
Partner and I at the time had talked about getting out of Seattle, and I think it was like 02, 03, and a friend of mine at the ski school, Karen Harjo. Karen worked at another ski school. Stevens Pass back in the day, I think, had like 32 to 36 concession ski schools. And this friend of mine that was next door at one of them was out working at Schweitzer as a SARS assistant head coach. She's gone on now. She's working with U.S. ski team. So she took her career to
Crazy.
the absolute top.
Yeah.
And it's been fun to watch that. So she had contacted me and said, hey, they're looking for a snowboard supervisor out here at Schweitzer. And I was like, we were talking about going out that way. And partner at the time was interviewing for a job out in SANDPOINT. And next thing I know, I was talking to Terry McLeod at a small little cafe in Issaquah, Washington, and did an interview. And a couple of days later, he says, hey, we'd like to hire you. So that put the motion forward to do something I never thought I would do, and that was leave Seattle. After living there my whole life, and so running a little cabin out on the lake, and next thing you know, I was out in SANDPOINT, Idaho. 7-hour commute in traffic to work. I had an hour commute from Bottle Bay up to Schweitzer Mountain, and now my commute was deer and quiet country roads.
Yep.
Yeah. I feel like SANDPOINT's like the sleeping giant of the resorts in the area, because it's like SANDPOINT and Schweitzer there, because it's just you drive into SANDPOINT and all of a sudden like the mountains kind of part and you just see the mountain just looming over, and it's like a quiet drive out there. There's not a lot of the big city, resort, like even like Park City or Jackson, that's just like right there. Like you have to drive quite a ways to get up to Schweitzer.
Yeah, it was always I'd been out that way a couple times. Again, back when the first road trip I ever took by myself as a kid or as a young adult was out to Whitefish, Montana, and then so I got to go through that region. Something always grabbed me about Idaho. Later, mountain bike racing was like, found myself in Idaho again. Found myself at Farragut State Park at a WIM series, bike race, and was like, there's something about the air out here. There's something about this place, And so it had been set for quite a while, and yeah, you're right. When you get to that moment of you're driving across through, you see mountains and whatnot. You see them as you're going east from the west side, but then you get across that long bridge, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's just 2 mountain ranges that are right here, and yeah, the whole area is just a really neat zone to go and play in.
I remember, like you mentioned, Terry McLeod, and shout out to Terry McLeod. But my experience too was, I knew Steve back at Timberline, and of course he knows Terry. Terry works for him up at Hood, and at Steve's camp, and kind of runs like ski racing type stuff, and really high level knowledgeable instructor. But I remember meeting him because of Steve, and he's like, hey, I'd like to meet you. Like we have a new director right now, just kind of transitioned. That was Nicole Hampton, and that was really cool to get to meet Terry, and he kind of had to put the stamp on like, okay, is he going to be okay up here? Like, is he going to work? And so I met him at Moon Time and had a beer with him, and he was like very nice and just such a cool dude. But yeah, I remember my first time driving up to SANDPOINT after I had gotten hired, and I just kind of went, just to go check it out, just because I was kind of, just curious, be like, I kind of need to know like how I'm going to get up there and everything. But when you get to that long bridge, man, and it just like Jess said, like it boom, and it opens up, and it's just so cool. And then you're up there, and you talked about going around, up the Lakeview Triple, coming around the corner, and where Ridge starts, you kind of get past the trees, and you said, the lake presents itself to you, so to speak, and it's just like it's such a beautiful place. It's like it's hard to beat, It's like, oh, can't really describe too many other places like it and how quiet it is. So
I remember coming out here on a springtime road trip, and at the time it was Harbor Properties. There was Schweitzer, Mission Ridge, and Stevens Pass were on the same ticket, and so we're like, well, let's go use our benefit, and there we were. It was like mid-March, and we're sitting on the side of the run, like looking out over this amazing territory, and there was nobody skiing, and there was new snow. We're like, where is everybody? Coming from the west side of the Cascades, where, new snow, and everybody came out of the woodwork.
Yeah, it's weird. I wonder if it's just because we're so used to like maybe being so north, we get darker winters. So then once it starts to get to spring, as soon as March hits and April, everyone's out doing other things because they're like, okay, I'm done with skiing and snowboarding for the winter. I'm going to go fishing now or
Yeah.
whatever. And so then, yeah, I've noticed that too. Like you get up on the mountain and it's like, where is everybody? Like there's no one on the mountain. Like we're running in the park and it's like there's just the same like 10 people that you see and that's it. It's wild.
I always enjoy the snow in Seattle. Seattle proper didn't really get a whole lot of snow, but being able to go and travel up to it, I thought that was amazing. And then moving out here and going, oh, we have snow in town. And I don't complain at all when it's time to go shovel because as a kid, I was just like, I want to be in the snow.
Yeah. I mean, I can relate to that. Like my first experience snowboarding was just building a tiny little boot, a mound of snow with my crappy Walmart board in Southern Oregon. Whenever it snowed, we had just enough pitch, on our 5 acres down there for me to like go out, mess around in crappy gear and just go jump off stuff. And I mean, that's what it's all about too, as a kid, you're there to have fun and, driving up to the snow is so cool because, I can relate to that, being from the West Side, coming from Portland and it's like rain. And then as soon as you hit that snow line, you're like, all right, here we go. It's time. And, but yeah, can't complain. It's fun. It's fun out here when it snows, dude. You can build little pump tracks in your backyard, little takeoffs, get a little PVC pipe going, get a small tube. Like it's fun to do. But, so yeah, so you get out here, and you start working up at Schweitzer. You've kind of, built a name for yourself up there through the years. When you took that position, what level were you at? Were you at a level 3 at that point?
I had just gotten my level 3.
Okay.
Probably one of the hardest things I ever did, professionally was to go and put the time and energy into getting that certification. There's a lot of rewarding aspects of it. There's a lot of frustration in it, but finally getting it and realizing what it meant was, I think, a huge, completion of what it was I wanted to do. It took the riding to another level. It took the coaching to another level, and it got me another job. And so to be out at the mountain and being a supervisor, that was something that was interesting because it was kind of that managing of people. I always wanted to get back on the slope. I loved working with all the coaches and instructors, but at the same time, I wanted to get back into the trenches. I wanted to get back out there and be like, hey, let's coach, let's teach, let's get the people out there. So yeah, when I got out there, I had level 3.
So
Nice.
both of you have done teaching, but I haven't. So walk me through like what the levels are. Like what's the highest level and like what does that mean when you accomplish that? So you said there's 3.
There's 3 levels of certification between the PSIA and Aussie, and it's a national ranking. So you've got level 1, level 2, level 3. And level 1 is it's like that intro to teaching, intro to the sport, intro to get, to your first go out, your first, like, I've completed these tasks. And so there's a riding task, and then there's riding tasks, and then there's teaching tasks, and then there's technical knowledge. The level 1 is it's a fun one. It was back in the day. It was more like a clinic. Let's see that you can ride. You complete these more basic maneuvers. These are also the maneuvers that you should be teaching. Mm-hmm. Then as you roll into a level 2, now you're going to be teaching in front of your peers. You have a higher level of knowledge base of teaching, of the technical knowledge. You're expected to use different verbiage. And then the riding task is more difficult. And then when they jump you when you get to that level 3, it's a pretty big jump, a lot higher level task. Now you're including your carving, your freestyle, your free ride. Your knowledge base needs to be very robust. And in essence, it's teach anything, anytime, anywhere, under any conditions, with any age group. So it's that all inclusive of, and that level 3 status. As you get through 1, 2, and 3, it definitely shows where people are in their years of teaching or years of coaching, years of being on a mountain. Great riders versus great teachers versus great movement analysis or technical knowledge.
Yeah.
It's definitely a grind to get those things. And I think in that level 3, you said, do they also want you to still improve each person's like their performance by giving them something, a piece of information that could improve their riding within that task.
Yeah, in a nutshell, it's improve the level of the group as a whole.
Yeah.
So now you got a bunch of awesome riders, awesome teachers out there, and you're like, all right, what's gonna wow this group of at your level or higher ridership and coaching ability? So it's a fun kind of game, kind of drill. At the time, it was very, very daunting, but now after years of coaching, you're like, I see what we can do here. You know, it's like, let's mix it up.
It's fun.
Let's see how we can challenge all of us to, and not just, ridership is one thing, being able to be a good rider, but it's getting into the brain, getting into the mind, getting into the coaching, teaching process of, it's that digging inside yourself to grab, the words that are going to make the people in front of you say, I'm going to follow this guy.
What's one of your favorite challenges to push someone to do or to nail? Like, is there a favorite kind of feature that you take them to, or a jump or a trick they do? Or
for me, as a coach, like as an instructor and a coach, I have coached for competition, but it's always come down to the fundamental movements for me. It's always come down to that basic of what makes a good rider. And my process over the years, my parents always felt that I was a risky person by mountain biking, by rock climbing, by doing all these like outdoor adventures. And to me, it was always, take a lesson, learn the proper ways, get a good foundation going. So for me, it was always that I start from the ground. I go from the ground up. So I want to see the good board control. I want to see them use their feet. I want to see them stand over the equipment with good balance. And so for me, that's the basis of anything from I've never been on the board to I'm going to try my first 360 or, so it's that good edge control that we're not just like throwing our body around. And so that's always even when I take a high level rider, I'm going to still sit there and be like, what kind of track are they leaving in the snow? As they go down the mountain on the way to the park, or if they're in a free ride event, it's how are they using the equipment?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. Some of my favorite riders are ones that know how to edge their snowboard really well, and a lot of them come from flatter places like Bend and Mount Bachelor and stuff like that, because anyone can huck and throw spins and do all that stuff, and that's cool and everything, and the whole gymnastics movement of the sport has been interesting to see, but I feel like it's also now the style is starting to like creep back up. You know what I mean? Like the spins were awesome and the evolution of the spins were cool. But now grabbing, transition, flow on your run in snowboarding has come back. And I think that's super cool to hear you talk about that, because it really does, like, it's something that I took when the first time we went out on a clinic. Like everything starts from the bottom up, in my opinion. Like you have to be able to, keep weight down in your feet, down through your joints when at the proper time, and then also unweight and do all these things. And yeah, that's kind of how, people that can like describe body parts and how like they connect to the snowboard, those are the people that I always really learn well from, and they make it super simple. Like you've told me, like, try to say what you're saying in 5 words. Now go to 3. Now go 1. And then if you're a good instructor, those people will be able to understand what you're saying. You're like you have somebody like going down on their heels, and you see them like kind of not like lifting up through their toes, but they're still kind of doing it. I just would yell out toes, and they would be like, okay. So yeah, that's super cool to hear, man. That's awesome. So we got to the point where you've come out here, you're really into downhill mountain biking. What kind of like other activities do you like to do? I know that mountain biking, snowboarding, skiing. Is there anything else you like to do? I know you like to get out and travel. Kind of talk about the vibe in SANDPOINT and how it's kind of come through, and all the things that you can do up there, and what's changed in SANDPOINT, during the time that you lived there.
I've been out there 20 years now, and the fun thing for me was coming from a recreational side of Seattle, where we're always hitting the trailheads, always biking or skiing, snowboarding, was getting out of SANDPOINT and realizing it's like, wow, there's a lot of trail out here with not a lot of people on it. But also that realization of like, you are almost immediately in the wilderness and you got to be self-supported. You know, you have an accident or a wreck, get yourself out of there. But also like just the recreation abounds. We like to get out on the water, do a lot of canoeing, flat water kayak. The mountain biking's fun. I've taken the coaching side of things and the instruction side of things and started applying that to mountain biking recently, and that's been a lot of fun because as long as I've been skiing and riding, and it's been mountain biking as well. So
Schweitzer's perfect for that because it's got both seasons.
Schweitzer
right?
now has, yeah, they've got they're really ramping up now in that area. The Andre Peddlers is a 501c3 that's doing a lot of active in getting it known out there to be this bike town. Let's get trails going, and they've took a lot of the illegal kind of old motorcycle trails or old hiking or horse trail where it was just access. Even back in the day, we'd follow some of the deer track, the animal tracks just to get to another spot, and so now it's like building legit trails for these zones that are really fun to go and ride in. And then we're also getting that progression-based aspect of, we've got beginner areas, kind of intermediate areas, and then we've got more advanced areas as well.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get that big scope out as far as we can, just like Schweitzer, we can handle beginner, intermediate, advanced. We're doing the same thing on the bike side in that area.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've seen a lot of stuff happening up there with the trail crew, and it's getting, like you said, it's getting ramped up, and just like you said, the whole trail network that funnels down from Schweitzer down into SANDPOINT is really, really awesome as well. It seems like that kind of movement during the summer up here is kind of spreading as well, because we have Canfield Mountain, here in Coeur d'Alene, and there's a whole new trail alliance and everything, and they're taking those old, beat up motocross type trails and just kind of, banking them out and doing some cool runs and stuff. That's super sick to hear.
As our population is getting, we all know what's happening with population. It's getting bigger and bigger, and Coeur d'Alene down here is growing, Spokane's growing, Seattle blew up. SANDPOINT, even though we've been there 20 years, it's like, it's still small, but there's a lot that's going on there, a lot of building. It's giving those recreation opportunities to get people spread out a little bit more. If you keep the zones small, then they're just going to get crowded, and that gets annoying. So why not just keep recreation high? When our friends come out from these big cities and they come visit us, they're just like, wow, we need a vacation from our vacation. You guys are nonstop. You're constantly moving. And that's been it's been the goal since we've been out here, is just to don't stop moving. Fountain of youth.
Yeah.
Keep moving.
Yep.
Yeah.
I feel like Idaho, North Idaho, there's just elbow room. There's just so many things you can go do, and there's not a lot of people there. And they built that, like, so many people built that in mind. I mean, like, you look at the houses, even like the roads, like, there's just bigger space for things.
Yeah, and it's nice that they kind of also, in this area, they kind of focus more on, larger plots. And, they're not, I've seen, there has been some more high density just out of necessity and need here. Just because, like you said, it's growing like crazy. But I mean, the word's out, man. The entire Northwest in general is getting moved to because people get displaced, and whether and they want to go to a place that is going to be nice and quiet, and so hopefully we keep it clean and things don't get ruined. It's sometimes it's sad to see how much, just in the 5 years that I've been up here, the amount of trash that I see along the roads, and the amount of trash I fly fish in the summers, and the amount of trash that's left up at the river all the time is just like, dang, dude. But good thing there's people like us and people that volunteer their time to go out for a day or whenever and go pick it up. But yeah, man, it is changing, and Schweitzer has definitely changed really in the I want to say in the last like 4 years. It's been an entirely new facelift. What's it been like for you up there and kind of experiencing those changes over the last few years? Like, it's been kind of gnarly.
The growth is interesting. The fun thing has been, with the groups I work with and whatnot, is keeping that etiquette high. We are going to get crowded, but at the same time, we can all still enjoy it because there is space. So in our ski and snowboard groups, making sure that in our younger clientele, to like let them know that, hey, put a smile on your face and be cool and share the lift line and share the space, and the responsibility code and all that is it's not just a rules of the road. It's just that kind of common sense of like, this is how we use the mountain together. Mm-hmm. So it becomes, I think, more and more what I've noticed in the last few years is how much that's important to, as things get crowded, don't forget that we're here to share it together. So act accordingly.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. And it's definitely evident, we have a lot of really awesome, younger kids, working in the ski school, and also just straight, riders out there. And it's that kind of thought process from the people, that have worked up there like you, and the other people that have been there, kind of being like, hey, let's stay cool. And that's what's cool to see, is like all the new riders are super humble, good kids. They can hug and they can do all these awesome things, but they're still super awesome to hang out with. Jess and I went out, gosh, I think that was like a week or so before closing on that spring day to film with Zadok and
the
crew.
The crew. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're calling that, but I like to call it like slushies. I was like, just something fun. Like, it was just a spring slush day, and we just did a huge sesh, and that was, yes, I think that was closing week.
Yeah.
So, because they were getting hyped up for the weekend.
Yeah.
But we went out on Thursday, and we just filmed like just a great handful of skiers and snowboarders, like more skiers than snowboarders. Like,
yeah,
they were so cool. It was a lot of fun.
I just want to see that generation sharing. Doesn't matter what you're standing on.
Yeah.
Let's just go and share the stoke and keep the vibe high. And
that was my first time really seeing that, where it was like just so, like, they didn't care that you were a snowboarder or skier. They really didn't care. They're just like, we're going. I'm going to do this jump, and you're just encouraging people like, oh, what kind of grab are you going to do? Like it was so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's super cool to see. That was definitely a fun day. And Jess put out like so much cool content from that day. And it was awesome to see all those guys, out on, on Instagram, re-shouting her out, and, small town kids, and, Max and Zadok, and just all the homies that were there. Is like so cool. Jack was up there. Like, that crew is starting to like really, really go for it. And whenever you pull a camera out, they're always going to be so stoked to get a clip so that they can share it. So that's what's awesome, is like, we just want to like help out and, get those kids noticed a little bit more. You know what I mean? So, and speaking of that, like, let's talk a little bit. So you recently got, kind of have started this new nonprofit, for, a youth snowboard, and it's straight snowboard, right?
Yep.
All snowboarders. And, Pat Holland, local legend, Olympian, you and him have kind of started this, along with Adam Hall, right? Is kind of the brain trust behind it.
Quite a few years I've been chatting about doing another snowboard team in the area, to have our own piece, and just be a dedicated snowboard team, and dedicated towards the competitions that are out there. Your bank slaloms, your border crosses, your free ride comps. And with that, the question is always, will it be valid? Will it be available, a viable option? And so, as the generation had changed, and we're seeing some growth again, the rad dads from back in the day that were, ripping riders and all that, they've got kids now, and so now let's give a spot for them to go. Our Fanatics program at the mountain, our multi-week programs, they age out, and after they age out, where are they going to go? And those programs aren't necessarily geared towards a competition. So we decided to give it a go. We have a created a 501c3, full board of directors. We got Sean Taylor, Adam Hall, Adam Tajan, Tim Peel, Teague Mullen, myself, and Pat Holland. And with that, we've got a very wide range of coaching availability. Myself coming from the instructor side of things with technical. Pat Holland with his high-level competition. We've got free ride coaches, and we've got Aiden who's on as a coach. He's been doing. We brought him on as a freestyle coach. Get some of that new young blood in there.
Yeah. Shout out to Aiden.
Shout out to Aiden. Super fun watching him work with the kids, and looking forward to working with him as and develop his coaching style and career technique because it's super fun to work with. So it was a long process. One, we had to get it okayed by Schweitzer. That's part of it. We're going to be operating on their property. Schweitzer being private property. It took us a couple of years to get it going, but we did develop the 501c3. We did get sponsorship. We did make it a go in this first year. It was a lot of steps that were in place, and by having all the rad dads on the board of directors, it was really cool to see that drive. And a lot of the donations came out of that crew itself because they believed in us getting this thing going. We had 11 to 14 riders, depending where we're at in the season. It was hand selected this first year just so we could get it off the ground. They did a lot of high ranks. We had kids go to NORHTERN. We had go to the Freeride Nationals. We had the different bank slalom events. We've had riders over at the that have been in the bank slalom at Baker. So it's really cool to see these kids that are we remember from being the smaller Groms making their way through their sport. Their life in it and standing on podiums. We got kids now. They're also going either they're working with us in the ski schools or they're working in the other programs or they're going down to. So as a new program for us, we do see that there's going to be growth in it because we've already got a very good foundation that started with what we currently have on the ground.
Yeah. Nice. So what's the name of it, and then where can people find it?
We are getting a website up and running. We're hoping to get that shot off by month of May. Getting again with a lot of steps to get going to get even the 501c off the ground. Now we have branding that's happened and whatnot, and getting ourselves marketed. So Snowboard Northwest is the team name that we came up with, and we are getting that website going. It should be snowboardnorthwest.com or SBNW. So just to abbreviate it.
Yeah.
And nice. Snowboarders only.
We are a snowboard dedicated team.
Yeah. So what do you see it being? Like, do you see people applying to join the team, or is it all like audition? Like, is it just handpicked?
Right now, we handpicked that first year off of a selection from the Snow Ghost Bank Slalom the year before. People that had posed interest, and then we grabbed local riders. We are looking to get more coaching involved. We are looking to get into a bigger program. With that, we will have a younger age range since we are at Schweitzer. We have certain roles that we're being a competition development team. We are looking for that that rider that wants to get in the competition.
Yeah.
We will be opening up to the young group. This group this year, the youngest rider was like 8-9 years old. That was kind of like, hey, come with us, we'll ride, see if we can hang. Let's go from there. But now we are looking at doing like a futures program that will go and get us that younger age range. What we want to do is just keep creating this overlapping in the generation so that we can continue our program. Yeah. That's something we've seen work with the ski schools and even now in the mountain bike program is if we get the younger kids involved and we can keep having the younger kids involved. Well, the younger kids get older. We're all aging out at some point. So we just don't have any gaps in the ridership. Mm-hmm. Then it will help to go.
So you're really looking for riders that are willing and wanting to compete in these different things, and they're at that skill level that they're really dedicated to it. So not a very beginner person, but someone who's been out and they're like maybe they're already doing competitions, and they're looking to get more of that steady coaching and steady like support group.
Yep, get some one-on-one coaching, get some team riding going, the big group stoke. But also we have a pretty wide age. We'll be able to handle a wider age range as they age out of some of the school group or multi-week programs that the mountain offers. They can be able to come into, after 14 years old. Now you're looking at that. Okay, what about 15, 16, 17? As they start getting ready to head off to, say, college or, move out of the area, still have snowboarding in their life for an aspect. So
cool.
Yeah.
I think that is so cool.
It's gonna be really cool to have, a snowboard focused team up at Schweitzer, because it hasn't existed for the longest time. We have SARS, and that's ski race exclusively. So it's gonna be cool to see that. And I hear you, man. I really think that having an organized team up there is gonna do wonders, because there's all these talented kids all over the place, and they want coaching. And some of them just don't have the information, just because maybe they haven't gotten the right instructor, or gotten on the right thing. Because I've talked to quite a few of these young guns, and mention Hood, mention Wendell's, mention High Cascade, and a lot of them, a lot of them are like, when I first got here, we're like, what's that? But now I start talking to these kids whenever, we're out filming or riding the chair or whatever, and they're mentioning, it comes up in conversation. It's like, yeah, I'm going for session 3, going for session 1, all this stuff. And I'm like, this is good to see. Like, because if you guys really want to do it, like, you need to be riding quite a bit, like, and getting that high level coaching. So for you to start the team is just going to keep it going through winter, and having high level coaches, and getting them, where they want to be, essentially, whatever it's free ride or freestyle or, bank slalom's, just kind of trying to become, a pro, so to speak, which is so cool to see this area. And, thank you for doing that. Like, that's great, because it hasn't existed in the longest time, from what I've heard and what I've seen. So super cool. Awesome. Heck yeah. Nice, dude. So, let's get into a little bit of some hot takes. All right, Marty, hot takes. Okay. So if you had to pick your 3 favorite riders of all time, it can be male or female, who would they be? Who inspired you growing up?
That's a funny one, because it's not necessarily a snowboarder.
That's fine.
I look at my background of what I did in the sport was some of that mentorship. So, I'm always going to give a shout out to the guy that taught me how to ski. That's Lane McLaughlin. He was the rad dude that was, so much fun for us. And it didn't matter if you're skiing or riding. He just had this like huge smile on your face to go and make fun, have fun everywhere. And he really showed you how to just get out of your shell and don't be afraid to make a mistake, because you can always recover from that mistake. We learn from stuff like our mistakes. And so anywhere from our skiing and our riding into our teaching or our coaching, it was just like, we can all strive to get better. And he's the guy that got me into that whole realm of like, we are always learning, which means we're always going to come back next year, because there's going to be always something to learn.
Yeah.
I think that some of those early days, as I was never really a TV guy. I was always outside. Dad and my brother, they like to watch their shows, and I didn't really like watching the shows, so I go outside and play. Literally go dig in the dirt or go ride my bike around, because I was like, I wanted to be outside and doing stuff. But the videos that we did watch and whatnot, I mean, it comes back to that old school rider of Terje, seeing someone make the sport look so good and make it look so easy. It was just like, wow, that's not only is there power and grace, but there's like style.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to grab a third one out of all that, it's not gonna be any one rider. It's gonna be some of these kids I've grown up with over the years, teaching and coaching, that have gone on to do really rad, cool stuff. And they always give that shout out back to me of like, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for your coaching. I go, yeah, but I just got you off the ground.
Yeah.
You went and did all the rest of the stuff because, you believed in yourself and you saw what you could do, and so it's really cool to see all these young riders over the years that have now gone on to, stand on podiums at some of these big events. It didn't really dawn on me until these last few years of what that meant by just being another mentor for them. So kind of comes full circle as having a cool mentor and being like, wow, I can push that to other riders, other skiers.
Nice, dude. Heck yeah. Let's go with so what's a perfect day of riding look for Marty?
Perfect day of riding for
What does
Marty.
it look like?
Oh, you know, I got that morning coffee run. That was the where I dumped my morning coffee run back in the early days of working at Schweitzer as a supervisor. I always had a radio bank, right? And it just was like, that's fine, but I could turn it down because you can't hear it over the wind noise. But you know, coming off the top of that mountain and taking your favorite, you know, your favorite lines. I got a zone. I like the Great Escape zone because it's a high speed quad that accesses a lot of terrain. And early days at the mountain working was, you know, I didn't have a lot of time frame to go and ride, so I got to really know a couple of the zones because of where it's at. But the perfect day of riding would be that, you know, that sunshine, whether we got a, you know, a nice little skip of snow where the eraser effect happened in the mountain and kind of push some stuff around. And it was like, oh, you know, over here yesterday it was riding real good. Now there's a little bit of snow on it. And so
Yeah.
it's just that getting into that zone of where you get to lay out a good turn, whether it's a toe side or a heel side, and just the sound of what the board makes on the snow, the rush of the air. I never rode with headphones because I just wanted to hear the nature around me.
Nice.
You know, and so yeah, just hearing the whoosh and the swoosh.
Yeah.
You know, and
Squeak of the bindings is always fun on a pow day.
and then literally, you know, coming to that stop for a minute and just going, look where we get to stand. You know, and if it wasn't for my folks even letting me get into ski school in the first place, I wouldn't be able to stand on the side of the mountain and stare at the scenery and listen to the wind in the trees or the storm coming in.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty view. Like if you haven't seen that, like yeah, I know exactly that feeling that you're talking about and like
Right.
that scenery and everything. What kind of board do you ride now? Like, do you have different boards that you ride for different days?
With what I've done over the years, I've through the realm of coaching, I always had a twin, like a directional twin, just because through coaching, at that level 3, you're asked to do as much switch as you are regular. You know, so to be able to go left or right foot forward was key. You know, given the demos, and there's one of my I think I got really good at riding switch. Earl Celine, hats off to Earl Celine, another mentor of mine. We'd be in the worst conditions ever, and he would say, "Oh, it's a great spot to ride switch." But he'd also make us throw a bowling ball switch, or make us drink our coffee switch, or just to say, "Hey guys, you got to open up the other side. You got to get the left and the right brain going." So for me, board wise, I've always ridden like a directional twin. As far as like favorite brands or whatever, I mean, I had ridden on Rosenhoff forever because that was what's available to me. Currently on a deviation. Those guys I thought were really fun and cool. The guys are super rad to go ride with. And again, back to a directional twin, just to be able to have both. I haven't necessarily gotten into the more modern side. I'm kind of a traditionalist. So to get over these shape shifters and whatnot, they look like a lot of fun. I'd like to see myself probably get into one of those for my off days as I get, more time to just go free ride. But in the realm of coaching and having an all-arounder, typically on a directional twin.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it can be fun. It can be fun on like mega demo day if you
go ride different things.
Try something.
But yeah, with what I do, I typically ride I've always enjoyed having a camber between the feet and then an early rise tip tail. I think when you get into some of the flatland foot drills with presses and ollies and whatnot, I think that's a fun shape. I also like having a little more feedback on a board for that more high power riding. That's why I like having that camber underfoot so I can actually push on it and get some feedback.
Yeah.
Yep.
I ride a rocker right now, and I'm like, I need to get out of this because it's just
the rocker shapes are fun.
Yeah.
They do they're designed to do. They twist and they turn and they great for riding the pow and the slush and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I found myself up at Schweitzer. In my gear locker, it was like I definitely was a kind of gear snob back in the day with having got to have a quiver, but being a ski and telly and snowboard, it was starting to be a lot of gear, and so I started going down to the one ski, one board quiver and saying, all right, here's what I'm at here today.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a little off right now because like I actually have 2 snowboards for the first time in a long time. You know, I've got like a shorter,
When do I ride?
a shorter, more playful board, and then I have my board I'm riding all the time. So
Yeah.
but
Nice.
all the shapes, there's a lot of shapes. They all do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it depends on how you want to ride for sure and what you want.
Yeah.
And like getting that feedback I think is important too though, like especially as an instructor, you got to be able to move quick and show them that you can do that.
Yeah.
Movement quick.
The biggest
for carving, yeah, definitely camber. You know.
I think the biggest tip I have there too is like with you know, with my clientele as I'm going and working and riding with them is getting that proper gear fit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, over the years, seeing, you know, I get out there snowboarding, you know, ride with my clientele, and it's just like, let's look at some of that stance. Let's look at some of the, you know, let's look at how on a lace boot, let's look at how you tie your laces. You know, like we can actually get that boot a little tighter. We want the performance. You know, it's sure they're a comfortable boot. You know, they can be comfortable, but they don't have to be so comfortable that you lack performance.
Yeah.
Getting that proper fit. Even down to having a client go in and be like, you know, let's try foot bends. Have the boot hold you a little bit differently. Let's look at your high back angles. Let's look at your stance. Let's look at, you know,
and now
getting all the technical stuff,
right.
but it helps. Like every little, like you can make a tweak, like the degrees on your bindings, even. Like it all changes how you ride.
We're all built differently. I mean, we got 3 bodies right here. They're all going to stand totally differently with different, you know, bone structure and cant and angle with the feet and all that. So it's just, you know, seeing people out there riding and being like, you know, let's look at where you're riding in your happy place and see if we can make a little adjustment. It doesn't have to be much, and off we go.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's different. Like, I mean, I like a really soft boot and a fairly stiff board, and you know, just kind of like a regular medium flex binding. And everyone is like, when you get into the sport, you kind of figure out what you like and what you don't like, and trial and error. And that's what's cool. You were talking about like you have all this knowledge of gear and stuff. So you just recently started working down at the Alpine shop in SANDPOINT, right? How's that been going for you? I know it's just been a handful of days, but
Alpine shop, with Zach and Hannah. They're really pushing that place to be a really rad shop. Big remodel recently. We got bringing in even more specialized for mountain bike. Their winter side is just awesome. Ski and snowboard. As far as a multi-gear shop. It's a fun community spot there for getting people in. A mountain shop and a town shop. And they do a lot of support for the local recreation. They've literally got all 4 seasons in there, which is pretty fun to see, and have people come in there, and then bringing in a pretty fun crew to work with. Some guys I've worked with at the mountain over the years. Justin Montgomery, Andre Bircher, the likes of that. We brought TJ Bomer up from Coeur d'Alene here to take over the shop. So yeah, super fun to have being an outdoor gear shop and being an outdoor enthusiast. Kind of addicting to be in that zone,
Yeah.
Well, when it's your lifestyle, make it your work style. I'm sure.
That was always that biggest, hardest change. Grandma probably still rolling over in her grave because I'm doing it, but she was the one that was the most pissed off about, leaving a Monday to Friday 9 to 5 job with amazing benefits and vacation pay and yada yada. And it's just like, yeah, but I haven't really changed all that much in my physical because I decided to go out and get out of an office and be out in the outdoors and stay active, So, and that was tough. It was tough there for a while. I guided in the summer. It was like living out of a suitcase kind of thing, and all this traveling started to wear on you. So it was like, well, we want to pare it down and have something simple and small and stick around to what you know and love. And being in this area definitely helped that. Definitely times of struggle where you're like, wow, this is a low snow year. Maybe my funds are different because of not as much business coming in, but then summer kicks in and you're back to that. So, there's always there's the fun job and then there's the real job. So
yeah.
And you like right now you have a degree in certification in architecture design, right?
Not a degree in certification, but I've been doing design work for quite a while.
Yeah.
And help people with like building plans and drawing sets.
That's great. Yeah. So that
was what the Monday to Friday. That was the main job when I was out of high school and getting in the workplace, was working for engineering firms doing their drafting work and whatnot. So figured I better keep in that as a thing, because that's something you can do. Can't teach snowboarding at night, but
No.
you definitely go and work on your computer and get stuff done. So
That's awesome. Yeah, it's so cool to hear. All right, so last hot take, and then we'll get into rapid fire. So, what do you think the worst trend in snowboarding is right now?
the worst trend in
The worst trend.
About that one. I don't know if there is a worst trend in snowboarding.
Is there anything that you like out on the hill and you see, can be anything, and you're just like, that's not cool. Like, that's like not gonna help us out at all. Like, I would say just like people just acting too cool and kind of being, jerks out on the hill. And
if I say anything, the worst trend, if I would call it even a trend, would be, again, we're all aging out and we all have our ways that we've gone and done stuff. There has been a shift. There's always going to be that shift. I'd say if there's anything about a worse trend, it'd be like not accepting change.
yeah,
We're constantly evolving. Whether you're on a snowboard or whether you're driving your car down the road, everything's evolving. And if you can't accept that change, then you got to get out of the way, because we're all dying out. We're all heading to the same spot.
Right.
We're all heading to the same spot.
Yeah.
So
I think that's good advice. It's like, just be willing to change with it. Like, it's gonna, if you hold on to those things in life that you're just like, oh, I don't want it to change. It doesn't have to change for you, but it's okay that it's changing for others, and
where I grew up in Seattle was like the family I grew up in and whatnot. We were always inclusive. We had a very, very interesting mix of everything around us in that Shoreline community. We were just north of the city, so we weren't downtown, but we were kind of that north suburb, and every nationality was there. Then with snowboarding and skiing, when snowboarding was hitting the scene, and the skiers were pissed off about it, it was just like, well, but there's big trucks and there's small cars, there's motorcycles, there's you can have a mountain bike, you can have a road bike. It's just like we're all just doing things that we want to enjoy. So what does it matter what we're on, as long as we're all enjoying it and being happy with each other? And so one thing I learned early on was like, I don't get to make a choice for you. It's you have your choices, so you can. And I have to, if you're going to accept my choice, and I'm going to accept your choice, and let's go sit on the chairlift together and talk about fun stuff,
Yeah. Like, how's your day? What are you doing today? Yeah.
Why are you here?
Yeah.
yeah.
Everyone on the mountain is there for a reason. Like, they love it. They want to be there.
Yeah. And that's it's cool to see, I think Craig Morris said it best in his bomb hold recently. He's like, there's stuff for everybody. Like, if you want to get mad about like how the X Games and I can't do the stuff that they're doing. Well, you know what? Go watch Half Cab King. Go watch Snowboard Jesus. Go watch some of these other people that have created avenues for themselves in the sport, and it's starting to blow up more. And that's what is so cool, is like there's something for everybody. You can consume any type of snowboarding, any kind of type of skiing that you want, and it's all out there. It's just a buffet of information that you can go to. But
a lot of options. A lot of options, and doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter what you're standing on. To me, it matters like that smile on your face.
Yeah. For sure. All right, a little rapid fire. Okay. All right. It's usually skate or snow, but I'm gonna go with downhill mountain biking or snow, whether it be ski or snowboarding. Which one do you?
Mountain biking or
winter activities? Yeah.
What do you mean
as far as like, what do you prefer? Like, what's your favorite?
There's a very, very big juxtaposition there. One is sunny and warm, and the other one is cold.
If you could only have one.
Man, if I only have one, geez, I hate picking.
Right. Fair enough, dude. You go with pants or bibs out on the hill?
Man, I just started doing bibs last few years, and I love my bibs.
Nice. Rocking fly lows, right?
I'm rocking some fly lows right now. They're that Baker bib.
They're not. Yeah.
I remember having bibs as a kid, and it was just like couldn't wait to do pants. And then and now it's like as I'm getting older, I'm like, these bibs are nice and warm, and I got a nice little pocket. And yeah, they're great.
I need to get bibs. Because I've been leaning towards that too, just being like,
The bibs are
these
great, too,
just
they're versatile,
convenient.
yeah.
Like,
Just
you're-
make sure you get one with lots of zips. So you can, like, you know, I got you going tour in them.
Yeah.
And you can, like, when you're going uphill, you can just wide open. And then when you're
Yep.
downhill, you got full protection.
Just
Yeah.
rock a long sleeve or a hoodie underneath, and just like you know, riding out on a spring day, you can rock bibs, which is the same as like you know, going up on a pow day. They're pretty versatile. So
I think this year on that low snow year, I think bibs and hoodie was I was
Yeah.
rocking a lot.
yeah. So you're out there on the hill. What's your favorite, goggles or glasses?
I've been, you know, with the mountain having Smiths. I've just been rocking Smiths forever.
Yeah,
You know, with the employee store helps out. Those in the industry, we all know this is expensive sport, so we can, you know, sometimes we're rocking the gear because it's stuff we can grab or get or something that's been given to us. So,
yeah,
you know, Smiths always help us out with being a sponsor of the, you know, in the program, and so rocking the Smiths, interchangeable, love it. Being
They're
able to switch,
great.
being able
Yeah.
to switch goggles out, especially Schweitzer. You can go from our dark bowling ball lens to a transition lens when the light gets bad.
yeah. Each run you could have a different lens up at Schweitzer.
Yeah.
All right, pow or slush, like a sunny slush day.
I always said if I'm not going to ride POW, you better give me slush.
All
But yeah, POW first.
Pow number one.
Slush is the spring POW.
All right, and last rapid fire, dude. One person that you could pick to go on an all-time backcountry heli trip. Who's the person you take with you?
One person for a backcountry heli trip. This just came up this year with a friend of mine's father who we have a lot of really interesting conversations. His name is Stacy. And sitting around a campfire drinking some whiskey, we talked about taking a trip and so we could go and ride under the Northern Lights.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that'll be fun, dude.
Go ski or ride while the Northern Lights are popping.
Yeah,
I think it would just be a.
head up to Alaska, maybe.
I
Where
think
they're
more
really
like Norway.
strong.
Yeah, like
You have to go where they're
Okay.
really
Think it
strong.
more like Scandinavia,
Oh wow.
Yeah.
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 Go up to
Iceland,
'Cause-
Scandinavia.
Because even though we've been able to see them from here, it's not like I
Not
think
consistent.
like the moon. You're able to be out there and be like, yeah, I've got enough light. I can see where I'm going.
Yeah. Dang, dude.
That'd be so
That'd be so
cool.
cool.
I hope you go. I hope
Yeah.
you go.
That's sick. All right, Marty. Well, thank you again. And do you have any final thoughts before we wrap up? Let's hear them, dude.
Just thankful that my parents let me, get proud of what I was going to do. And if it wasn't for them, mommy's just sit in the lodge and save us a spot, And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have found the love of snow like I did. So to hear them say they're proud of me with what I've been doing, it means a lot all these years later.
Oh yeah. Yep, that's the best, man. Jess, anything
Cool.
from you?
Oh no, you guys this is great. This is awesome.
Heck yeah.
So yeah, go
Cool.
check out the Snowboard Northwest.
Somewhere northwest.
Snowboard Northwest.
Switch
Yep.
Mountain, Idaho.
Heck
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, awesome. Well, with that, I just for me, I just want to say thanks to Jess for co-hosting. Thank you, Marty. Every other Friday, we got new episodes coming out, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And with that, over and out. Thanks
Thank
again.
you.
All right,
Thanks.
sweet.